The 16th of May, the Ukraine Media Center is on air. Your anchor is Svetlana Cheparenko. We are unveiling today a new program for the bank sector in Ukraine, a tool for the researchers, bankers, and journalists. We are talking about the platform and its workings with our guests. Andriy Dubas is the president of the Association of Ukrainian Banks. Yurii Polovnev is the director of the NBU Statistics and Reporting Department. Oleksandr Markovskyi is the co-developer of the platform. Oleksii Shpanel-Yukhta is the junior researcher of the Institute for Economics and Forecasting of the National Academy of Sciences of Ukraine, who is the co-developer of the banking system. Andriy Minkin is joining us this morning as well. He will be ready for your questions. Mr. Dubas, will you tell us about the preconditions of the need? Thank you for inviting us to the Media Center Ukraine. You are at the edge of the update and contemporary programs that are being unveiled this morning. For me, it's an honor as the president of the association. My point is that the platform we are unveiling today is open to the public access. It's not a commercial project. It will serve the goods of the banking sector, researchers, economic journalists who will be able to take advantage of this information in an interactive mode. It all stemmed from the mid-2023 when Mr. Markovskyi and I were discussing the Power BI platform capabilities. And basically, late in 2023, at the premises of the association, we unveiled the first version of the platform for all the stakeholders. To be open with you, the interest and the response to this approach was as follows. The present technologies are not that time-consuming, and it provides a possibility to be more effective. The information that the banks are providing in terms of the reporting by the National Bank that is published on the website of the bank has the right, and we believe that we should use the word must be processed and should be presented in an interactive format. I am glad and happy that at the end of the day, we can unveil the 2.0 version of the platform. And of course, my thanks go to the panelists this morning for the fact that we are seeing such a presentation today as a follow-up of our activities. So for me, it's a great honor. Thank you, sir. As far as the National Bank is concerned, Mr. Polovnev, do you still think that there is a need for this platform? And why is it important for the banks? Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. First of all, I appreciate the fact that you have invited me for this event when we present the analytical platform developed by the National Bank and the scientific community. The openness, the accessibility, its transparency of the information for the National Bank is very important, as well as the digitalization of the process of transferring the formats into digital format is a call for the day. We all understand that the current system of economics cannot be efficient, and I echo what the previous speaker has suggested. The quality of analytics must be there. It's based on the open sources database and visualization. We all are aware that the volume of information are growing and the world is becoming more complex. We have some European aspirations for this country. It also relates to the process of reporting that the banks are providing, naturally the volume will grow and is growing. On the other hand, apart from anything else, apart from reporting and processing as our terms of reference, we are also doing our best to be open and transparent. It's a matter of standards at the end of the day. Day in, day out, month in, month out, we have so much data in terms of bank reporting, the financial sector reporting, currency, interest rates. These are all standards. We can compare them not within the domestic economy, but with the European standards. We are also facing a special challenge apart from the reporting, something that we have realized just recently. When we report not only for the previous month, but in terms of forecasting, we are trying to feel the pulse of the economics of Ukraine. In other words, National Bank is opening to the public every tool possible to be more efficient. When we look back, when the bulletins were published, then Excel broadsheets, and then the technologies developed and were mature. Back in 2016, we launched an open data project. Correspondingly, it is clear that such a format provides an opportunity to basically share information in an automated way, including the analysis, testing, and forecasting. National Bank is looking forward to online sharing on information. We are now working with the credit register and also taking advantage of the AI. That is for the future, but it can't be effective without standardization and ability to forecast. Basically, when we talk about the open data, it's a nice tool, an effective one to visualize the banking center. What we are seeing today, the platform per se, makes us happy to say that the developers have done their best to come up with such a product. The platform that is being presented today is very exciting, and I have looked at it. It's not a tool. It's a smaller, shall I say, ecosystem when not only bankers can analyze and test, students can take advantages, pundits, journalists, and ordinary people who take interest in what's going on the financial market. For the National Bank, it's a statement that the initiative for openness has brought results. The fruit is there. The infrastructure has been set, and the market will then look into how to take advantage of such a ecosystem. We welcome such developments. We stand ready for a further dialogue, what data should be open, and basically looking into the future when we talk about the digitalization. We want to interact in a more efficient way with the banks when the real-time information share is effecting. This is a look into the future. Online is the must. It will not happen tomorrow, but it will happen at the end of the day. Such tools will streamline such an evolution. Together, we will build up a competitive financial system. Thank you, sir. I believe it's time to present the platform itself. Oleksii, for those like myself, it's a revelation. We have not seen the 1.0 version. What is the specifics of the 2.0 platform. The digital platform, as we have heard, is in the first place called to aggregate all the massives of data that the National Bank has made public and put it in the public domain. So aggregation and then testing is another thing to see the validity of data. The third point is to present them in a user-friendly way. It's a very user-friendly process that will get and provide information for those who are only know very little about credits and other things. There are some sophisticated things that ordinary people are not interested in, and it's a good thing. And there are more authentic and deep instruments, like liquid instruments, the behavior of the banking system, the behavior of some groups of banks, which is a thing that the scientists, macroeconomists working for the commercial banks will provide a lot of interest so that they see the trends on the market. The third block provides a possibility for a bank to see its positioning among its closer competitors, to see their future, what the future will bring for them. So these are three challenges that we have put together in a 2.0 version that we have been developing over the last 6 months of intensive work. Let us now look at the platform. It has been published already in parts, of course. We have published it on the website of the Association of Ukrainian Banks, as you see on the screen, in the column Analytical Work. Once you are there, you see the first page, the banking system of Ukraine in figures. Of course, it's difficult to grasp every detail on one slide. That's why we have set a key component data, including the number of banks, their assets. One of the indicators that we have initiated with the National Bank is the statistics on the bank cards and the dynamics of the financial sector. I believe that today, to imagine our life without Apple Pay and different other virtual bank cards, it's quite difficult. That's why we have put an emphasis on that side of the equation. You can select the indicators of data you want to see. By default, you see the credit portfolio. You can also select the deposit portfolio. And we have information on the currency exchange rate. And you can see it both in hryvnia and in the equivalent of billions of dollars. Why? It's done to delete the factor of currency exchange where the trends are going, and also the so-called clean assets. This platform is divided into 4 key platforms: the research in general, the analysis of a particular bank, looking at its activity from all the angles, the major data, the system of payment, and the bank rankings. Let us begin with the bank analysis, the way we have presented it in our platform. We investigate the activities of the bank through 10 areas that we think are plausible, including the available data. In the general overview, we see NBL data, which is, in other words, the quality of the portfolio, whether that data is going up or down, the management of the credit portfolio, regulatory, and the profitability. Profitability reflects the income ratio and the profitability of the assets. Then the user can look into the dynamics, credits or assets we have divided between private individuals and organizations. Because in Ukraine we see different banking models, institutions that attract more resources from private persons, and some are on the balancing act. And the fact that the user can choose a specific factor or a specific banker gives you an opportunity to see whether the strategy announced is reflective of the reality. The other block begins with the overview of the banking system. In spite of the fact that we talk a lot about digitalization, one of the key components is still the bank departments, people who are taking advantage of the banks in a particular office of the bank. So to exclude those bank offices would make no sense. We have looked at the map geographically where the bank offices are located. You can select one of the 6 data and look into the dynamics of the indicators. We are now looking either it's a government-run bank or a private bank or a bank with foreign capital. Later on we will add in other factors. The indicators are open for choosing. The paying cards and their dynamics. This is perhaps one of the most exciting data that are currently causing so much interest. These are perhaps most live data. We see where people are paying, how they are paying, in what volumes payments are effected, in what region these payments are done, what is the foreign part of the acquiring system will be affected, either in Ukraine or abroad. Think about Ukrainian refugees. We can now process what these people are paying for. Key components here are, which is very important and very pleasant for us, the fact that over the last year we have seen the increase of 150% of usage of virtual paying banking cards, which means that the population are very much aware. And it is also a safer mode of payment when you're able to hide your main credit card, not to publish your data on the internet. So it provides for your safety. Many people are using tokens. Some banks provided an opportunity to what I would say some rings of payment. Perhaps through the DIA application, we will see the possibility to use the so-called token ring. All these figures are available here, and they enable us to understand the dynamics of the Ukrainian economy. We have also provided classical division, cash payment, non-cash payment, and the medium checks for both cash and non-cash paying, rankings of the bank. As I have already said, the bank rankings gives you an opportunity to see the positioning. Let me put in a few words here. It was my dream to talk about the rankings. I will know into the history, but in 2016, the idea was born. I joined the association in 2018, and I thought the data on banks are open. It is important that the association has resumed this information. We will download the data that we have lost so far to see the dynamics of the ranking, whether you were going up or down. Indeed, I will also add that currently we divide the banks and their rankings on along different lines, NPL and profitability, assets and liabilities. Sometimes the general ranking of the banking system is not indicative enough, especially for the groups of banks that are very much dynamics. So we thought that group ranking would make sense, where we can look into the positioning of the bank in terms of the general economics and in reference to a group of banks that it belongs to. It's important for a bank because you can see the picture of where you stand amongst your competitors, where you can adjust your activities. Now we will look into details of some pages and sections of the reporting. We have provided an aggregate balance of the financial results and the liabilities division. Here you see the following. Either you can look in terms of foreign currency and its share, the currency of the foreign currency in a banking system. This is, of course, for the connoisseurs and the specialists in the financial sector. It's also important for the other sector of banking system, where you can look perhaps not at yourself, but rather to see how your competitor is doing. More details we have in terms of the other dynamics. When you can use a data, your balance, and you will see the references here. So you can see the general data and very much detailed data on a specific account of the bank. For example, the cash residues that you see in your bank. And of course, the dynamics over the last 12 months. Indeed, for the last year. We are now looking into what we thought was a classical example of assets and liabilities, which are very important. You can't do without them. For the platform to be a comprehensive one, you have to have classical statistics on liabilities and assets. Here you can choose the currency you want to look into and select one indicator or a set of indicators where you can select the national currency or a foreign currency or a couple of foreign currencies, where you can see the structure and the dynamics. On the left, you see the current data and the right one for the structural composition of data. We also have an analysis that we believe. Perhaps I should say this. The key component in the banking system is not torn away from the economy in general. It's a bloodstream for different industries of the economy. Without banking system, economics will not work. But the fact of how these industries are cooperating, historically, we have seen that some industries are dependent on the credits that are laid at the banks. Some industries are very much interested in other areas. And we are talking about the dynamics. When we look into a specific industry, you see the detail on the activities and core activities in this industry. And it's important to see the payment system and the risks, including the NPL factor. We think that it's not a matter of providing credits, but credits must be provided in an efficient way. So NPL is a very important factor. The other side of the medal is that businesses have the opportunity to process and serve their credits. Unfortunately, these capabilities are different for many different industries. We believe that one of the key factors affecting the whole situation will be successfully overcome. Of course, regulations, it is very simple here. There are requirements by the National Bank. There are minimum and maximum data for regulations. When you violate these, either top level or the lower level, we are not using the words violation because banks have a plan of dealing with the violations of these limits. National Bank is aware of that. So such things are only highlighted, but not stressed as a violation of the regulation. It is worth noting that it takes place not that often. The banks are very conscientious to live up to all the indicators. They are very much aware of how important these indicators are for the economy and for themselves. As for the banking system, we see the analysis of assets, the analysis of the liabilities. You can select a group of banks or a specific group of data. In parallel, we see the liabilities of the banks in the system in general and in terms of a particular bank. The financial result is presented in a cumulative way and in a monthly pattern, including the efficiency factors. We see the so-called overall E factor through a slicer. The only difference is that we think that a particular month analysis does not provide a representative picture. That's why the financial results cover whole year, the 12-month, where you can see where you were doing better or worse. On the current slide, you see this ups and downs of a particular sector in 2024, which also serves as a food for thought for the analysts and pundits why this dynamics is taking place. The financial result of the banking system is something where I would like to wrap up my presentation. Oleksii, we can look into the dynamics now. Can you comment on the slide that we are about to see? How about this experiment? Somebody from the floor will set a challenge for us, and we will now find a solution right now online in real time. Perhaps I will give you the general picture of what you can select. As we have suggested, here we have the site of the Ukrainian bank system. You begin with the starting page, the one that you saw on the slides previously. Perhaps we want to know what is the latest update, which is to say the data have been updated yesterday night. So if something happened yesterday, we will see that this morning. Now, what can we select? A group of banks, one group, or exclude a particular group of banks once we wish to do so. If we wish to analyze all the banks without government-run banks, which is a requirement sometimes, and we have also suggested the lower level, whether we look into the credit portfolio or deposit portfolio. You can change the data here, the date for the analysis. We can now look into the dynamics of a particular bank. For example, what bank are we interested in? And by the way, because this is powered by the Microsoft Power BI, we are using active caching process. So next time when you enter the page, and if there is no browser that has been hidden, the cache will make it easier for you to select the data. You can, as I have suggested, use either liabilities or assets. Now we can begin our experiment. Do you have questions from the floor? We will do these assignments right now in real time, journalists, analysts. Let us now think up oh yes, we have a question. Welcome. It's an immensely interesting presentation. I represent the Krok University. I was at your presentation online last year. This time, I have been lucky to see this offline. The question is very simple. We saw the opening of the Accord Bank office opened near our university. Can we look into these offices of the bank? Is this bank in your system? When we talk about regulations, we have this section here. We can go there. Here we have the Accord Bank. All the regulations are in line with the requirements of the National Bank, as we can see. We see the concentration of the assets of the bank. The banks is quite healthy. We see the data, which are reflective of the behavior of the private banks. They have a very good liquidity, doing quite good there. Whether I am doing them pitching or not, you can place your credit at that bank. Can we give them another assignment? Bublik from the Institute of Economics and Forecasting. The groups of banks, including government-run, the biggest private bank in Ukraine is PUMB Bank. Can we look into that bank's activity? Now, of course we can. Let us go there. You see how the caching process is working. We were looking into the Accord Bank. Now we will look into the PUMB Bank. What we see is this. Indeed, when you look at the different industries and their wholesale trading, they are doing very good in terms of processing industry. You see, it has been highlighted in the dark blue, where we see the different parts of the processing industry. We see that they invest heavily into the products, into the metallurgy, with a quite heavy share. I think this is where they are very healthy. They are investing into the food processing industry of Ukraine. 75% of their portfolio, the rest of the industries are not that very much represented. The emphasis must be made that this is a very healthy bank. Thank you very much, sir, for your presentation. Everyone knows how the platform is working. I would like to talk to you, Mr. Oleksandr. The system accumulates massive data. Will you tell us how the data is put in? Either you're doing it in an automated way or in a manual way. We began to work on this issue in 2023. We were motivated by thinking that we must be moving forward. There is no other way. To move forward means to make a step towards a victory. Everyone can contribute to that. These are all public data. You have already heard that we receive the data from the open data published by the National Bank. We take that data, process it, and visualize it. Let me draw your attention to the fact that this system, in an automated way, gets the information from National Bank data. Once there is an update, we feed in this updated data on our platform. And because we use Microsoft BI system, we believe that in the future, we will also engage AI that will automatically generate reporting on banks, particular bank or a group of banks. Well, we hope for the best. I will also make an announcement or a spoiler, what we are doing now and are actively engaged in. And I believe we will implement that project. Can we look at the presentation again? We are looking at the website of a platform. For example, the red line, NBL, we see it's going down. In the future, we want to implement a feature where you will click on a particular point. You will choose either analytical process, it's not working, but there you will select from analytical work. You will see what banks, what groups of bank or a particular bank, what makes it important that a particular bank triggers some kind of tendencies. For example, we see a dynamic growth of assets or liabilities. You can click on that point and we'll see what banks have influenced the trend. This is what Oleksandr seems to have meant when new features will be added, features of analysis taking on board the current technologies to make sure that these data are transformed into a process where human resource is less required for a high-quality product. Guests, do we have questions for the panelists? You will be given the floor and the microphone. Welcome. I am a student of the National Economics University. As a student, it is very handy for me. My question is this, whether you will add the feature of ranking the banks of NPL, for example, which banks have the NPL factor of the highest level and the lowest level. Thank you for your question. As for the NPL, we have a ranking of that sort. If you wish to add some sort of ranking, we have published our contact information for a feedback. The emails are available. You can write to us. We will look into your suggestions, and the 3.0 release or 3.1.1 release will see the addition of such factors. I would also like to add that we use not only Excel data, we also use API possibilities and other data that the National Bank has started to publish. Let me draw your attention to the fact that these data are all open. If you want to see the region-wise analysis, the National Bank will provide such an opportunity, which is not the case of today. Such an option will be implemented at a later stage. I understand that this will give you an opportunity to analyze specific cities, specific areas, or geographic locations. With your permission, I have a short question. Can you tell us about your plans at the National Bank? What is it that you want to publish in the future for our upcoming work, for us to know what to look into in terms of the publications of the National Bank? As for the plans of the National Bank, we have published the payment balance in hryvnia, and this is perhaps a good development. This is in response to the European aspirations of this country. Indeed, our plans are to be more transparent. We cover not only enterprises but other clients of the National Bank. As for the national European integration, as we go along that road, the National Bank will publish information. We are now publishing the leverage information, and sooner rather than later, the new regulations will be published according to in line with the European Union directives. Perhaps not tomorrow, we will publish updated new information on statistics of financial sector, in financial sector in general, not particularly for banking sector, because European Central Bank have their own requirements that are different from the IMF. So we are moving along that route. National Bank currently is actively implementing the European Union directives. That's why we are talking about new data. Long-term liquidity has superseded short-term liquidity. Of course, there are challenges here because European banks are more stable and they don't need such a frequency of information as we do. But in Europe, there are standards of 2016 that require that major banks are providing massive data on their transactions, their interest rates, their different instruments, our national bank is not likely to join the loop very soon. But we will unveil information that has to do with European integration. We have a question from the second row, please. Welcome. Rina Koptiva, representing Bank of Savings and Investments. For the developers, my question is this: do you plan to come up with a comparison of one bank with another bank or one bank with another group of banks? And if so, when will that happen? Thank you for your question. As for the rankings, we are planning to add such a possibility of comparing different rankings, where you will choose a particular bank. To compare banks is not something that we have planned for, and comparison of one bank vis-a-vis a group of banks has not been envisaged. Let me tell you that such a model will be there, but in this presentation we have excluded such a factor. We have a possibility to compare one bank with another bank, and I demonstrated this at our presentation of the 1.0 version. In this presentation, we have excluded that. If there is a need and demand for this, we will include such an option. What we want to do is to follow through the instrument of rankings for every bank to see their positioning vis-a-vis their competitors and to see the trends and tendencies in the financial market. But my ultimate goal is that, as the computer geeks are saying, we will engage the AI to come up with some decision-making and conclusions to provide for a better quality of banking analytical work. Because AI can also come in handy in terms of aggregating data for the whole banking system. And the next question I would like to address to the National Bank. We are now living through mid-May. The latest data was updated on the 1st of March. Do you plan to do something here to do the updates more frequent? Now, we can open a computer here, and we can do that. That's a life hack here. There is a demand requirement. You see, for the updating of the publication, we have to shorten the time for the reporting of the commercial banks. Then I'm sorry that I asked. You see, you receive the data in mid. You have already received it, haven't you? What data are you talking about? The balance sheets, that's what I'm talking about. To be honest with you, you see, a situation used to be, and I appreciate your openness, but you seem to have been working more time efficient, which is not the case. It's a smaller problem here. I accept that. It's of technical nature, for example. But the little problem here is that the more reporting you have to provide, the more mistakes you're making. And sometimes before we publish reporting, we have to ask the particular banks to provide information for the second time to be more authentic and precise. I think it's a technical hiccup here. Now, to be honest with you, this is the issue that we've been discussing all the time at our meetings. And I don't know what resolution was it. Banks are required to provide their reports not only to the national banks, but they must publish the information on their websites. What we have seen is that the aggregate reporting published by the National Bank, of course it's called aggregate because it puts together, it is analyzed as an aggregate mechanism. Once the mistake has been made, you have to rectify it. But we want to set a, how do I call that system? We want to set up a system that would feed in the data from all data, irrespective of how big the bank is. We can set up this program for the information to be aggregated. But shall I say, the aggregate information that we have at the National Bank, we have visualized it. Now, the next step will be to make it more time efficient. Perhaps it's a question you should address the Ukrainian Association of Banks. And I also will add here the following. You will understand that we cannot possibly publish all the information, including what constitutes a banking secret. Now, to do that, these balances of the banks must be published at their own websites. Only then are we authorized to publish them, because it's not a bank secret anymore. Sometimes banks are slow in publishing. Sometimes they make mistakes. Now, we have a question there at the gallery. The bank university, the Department of Financials, it's a very good tool both for teachers and for the students. I would like to have a specification here. Can we import the data from your site for us to process them in a digitalized way, or to use some graphics and visuals? I think you're talking about exporting, not importing. Now, partially, currently, we focused on the issue that it is efficient in a way it is. Some components will be available for exporting, but the Power BI specifics is that if you wish to export something, you will be given only some specific data. After you have downloaded the data, you will see 2 columns of spreadsheet, and you are welcome to use it. Some additional tools are also available. But again, we will look into how the platform is used, what pages are drawing more interest than others. Then these pages perhaps will be subject to exporting for Excel spreadsheets. And another question. There are a lot of data on volumes, but in terms of quantity, the client number, the number of loans, do you plan to offer such information? Currently, the quantitative information relate to specific offices of banks. As for the clients and data of clients, I hear such a question for the first time, and I appreciate that you have raised this issue. He's talking about the bank clients of a particular bank. I think that such data are not open. To the best of my knowledge, deposit or those who have deposited in banks, the volume of the money deposited. When such statistics is processed, we should be aware that we don't know what to do with the multi-bank investments when one user uses a number of accounts in different banks. So we can process only information on a particular bank. We cannot aggregate information for the group of banks and for the system in general. But we are talking about the deposit statistics and the division of the sums deposited. As for the credits, I have not seen such statistics, to be honest with you. We will also analyze the potential of this process, how good it is for the analysis, but the idea is quite exciting. Two short questions. We have a question from the rear of the room. Association of the Press Center of Banks. How useful is this platform for a particular entrepreneur who is interested in take some loan from a particular bank, or for a ordinary user who is interested in taking a loan? Now, while appreciating your question, we should think about how deposits are placed. We looked at the Accord Bank. You will remember, you have to see how stable the bank is, how many offices it has, and it will inform your decision whether the bank is safe or otherwise. As for the crediting, it is quite difficult to say. For the major clients, if bank is actively investing in some industry, then the managers or credit analysts know the specifics of a particular industry. So here you know that at the bank they know better that specific industry. And the last question, please. You see, yes, sir. Welcome. First of all, thank you for your presentation, Vladislav Matusyenko, the student of the Economics University. My major is banking activities. Your presentation seems to suggest that all the dynamics cover 1 year, month by month. But I am now working on a project in banking system where I need a look of a number of years, for example, a decade. Can you set up that system for such an angle? Currently, all the data of ours go back as far as 12 months. This is the covering period vis-a-vis the earlier period. The developer who is present here, he was talking about such an idea, and very soon we are likely to implement this. That according to the data you select, you can look back 12 months. But let me tell you from the beginning, not all data are available for a 10-year period. Some data, we must realize how regulations, for example, since September, we have seen the update of the lists of regulations. So capital or liquidity must be analyzed separately when we look a decade or 15 years ago. So in other words, without your manual job, you can't do without it. I see that the platform is exciting for many people. We have been talking the Analytical platform. Media Center will resume our work at 1300. We'll be talking about the upsurge of the hepatitis A in the capital city. Stay tuned.